What's going on, everyone? I'm Shawnee Boy, and if you want to win trench battles in over the top World War One, well, you're gonna need a good engineer. A bad trench gets your team wiped out completely, while a good trench can hold the entire front line and protect your team. So in this video, I'm gonna show you how to properly play engineer, the controls, the tools, and the strategies you can use to build trenches, fortify positions, and completely slow down the enemy advance. So my goal by the end of this video is to teach you all how to build smarter trenches, protect your forward spawn points, and turn the battlefield into an absolute nightmare for the enemy team to give your team the advantage on the battlefield. So let's get right into it, guys. Alright guys, so before I get into the exciting stuff, like talking about strategy, I'm going to have to go over the core controls and tools that you'll be using as the engineer class. The engineer has three main tools: the shovel, the pickaxe, and the hammer. The shovel and pickaxe are both entrenching tools that both have differences and niche uses that I will explain later on in the video. The hammer is a simple tool that can either construct or deconstruct built items. As the engineer, you'll be using a few key controls that make building much faster. The first is the construction menu. To open the construction menu, you must press J. You don't need your hammer out or anything else. You can have your gun out. It'll automatically bring your hammer out once you press J. In this menu, you'll find everything that you can build, which is also the same between all factions. No factions as of yet have any unique build items. In the menu, you'll find things like barbed wire, sandbags, walls, machine gun nests, as well as finding forward spawn points, ammo stations, and med stations, which just so happen to be the most important things to build as an engineer. This leads me into another important button to remember, and that's N. Pressing N will allow you to repeat the last item you just built, which will make building defenses much faster. Instead of you having to open the menu every time, you simply just place the same structure repeatedly. This is especially handy when placing these barbed wires, as they require no construction and are instantly placed. Now we're going to talk about the tools. And first off is the shovel, which you see me using here. The shovel is your most versatile tool. It's going to allow you to both dig and raise terrain. Simply pressing X will allow you to switch between the shovel's two modes. One mode will dig the ground, while the other mode will raise the ground. This allows you to shape the battlefield however you want. Because it can both raise and lower terrain, the shovel is perfect for forming trenches, building natural dirt cover, and blocking sightlines. So next, we'll be talking about the pickaxe, which is more of an offensive digging tool. It digs much faster and deeper than the shovel does, which makes it a great tool for pushing trenches forward quickly. It's also effective at destroying enemy fortifications such as barbed wire and other obstacles. If you're planning to play a more aggressive frontline engineer, then the pickaxe is probably the tool for you, as it's extremely useful for snaking trenches towards enemy positions and quickly reshaping the battlefield under fire. So finally, we've got the hammer. The hammer is simple. It's used for building, repairing, and removing structures. Just like the shovel, if you have the hammer out and press X, it'll cycle through the different modes. Now the hammer can be set to the construction/repair mode, which allows you to build any place structures or even repair damaged structures, or the deconstruct mode, which allows you to remove structures you or others have built on the battlefield. Now, deconstruct mode is obviously especially useful if you accidentally place something in the wrong spot or need to quickly remove an obstacle. Okay guys, now we get into the most important part of the video, and that's talking about trench building theory. The very first thing I want to talk about on this topic is probably the most important principle of engineering in this game, and that's to never dig a trench in a straight line. When you create a straight line trench, you end up creating a long sight line, which is going to allow any enemies with a height advantage or a good angle, or even a flank, to be able to shoot down the entire length of the trench. Instead, what you'll want to do is snake your trenches. This is a method that means you're going to be moving your trench from left to right and diagonal directions. It creates an unpredictable path that's going to prevent the enemy from seeing too far down the sightlines of the trench. Okay guys, so we're going to go back to that first rule that I told you, and that's to never build a straight line trench, right? Now what happens if you do? Well, what you should do is break up the sightlines. And you can do this very simply. You can do it by using reinforced trench walls, concrete walls, wooden walls, sandbags, parapet walls, metal roofs, camouflage netting. But that last one you want to be a little bit careful with because yes, while it can break up a sight line, it can also be shot through as it's just netting. You can even use your shovel to build small dirt mounds that block visibility. Now you don't necessarily always need to snake your trenches. If you're building your trench in a safer area, you can make a straight line trench. Just be sure that you take the time to break up the sight lines like the ways that I'm showing you in this clip here. Okay guys, so we talked about the controls, we talked about the tools, and we talked about the theory on building trenches. So now we're going to combine all three of those for this next segment, which is spawn points and spawn point strategy. So spawn points are the most important things that an engineer can place, and how you position them on the battlefield matters a lot. Whenever you place a spawn point, you want to make sure that the exit is facing away from the front line or incoming fire. This isn't always possible as the enemies could surround you, so you got to get creative with how you make the exit of the spawn point. It's very good to try to reinforce the sides of the spawn point and create a trench system around it. Ideally, you'd want the exit of the spawn point to be 180 degrees away from the front line. However, 90 degrees or diagonal can also work. The whole goal is to make sure that the enemies can't see directly into the spawn area and just chuck grenades or machine gun you guys as you're spawning in. Now, there's also 3 ways in which you want to use the spawn points, and coincidentally, there's also 3 spawn points that can be placed by engineers as a whole team. The first method would be to place a spawn point close enough to reinforce a defensive position. The next method would be between a defensive position and between an attack position. This gives you a good middle ground of the battlefield as well as a good front line to hold off any attacks onto your defensive position before needing to actually fall back and defend that position. So it's a good middle ground of attack and defense. The third way is to place a forward spawn close to the enemy attack objective so your troops can keep consistent pressure on the attack. Now it's very important that you mix up the spawns in these 3 ways. I've seen a lot of times the engineers don't coordinate and there's 3 forward spawns all the way in the defensive area of the map when you need spawns forward in order to attack. Now placing spawns can be very useful in combination with officers. If you get an officer in a good spot, you can spawn on them, place the spawn point, and then build up the area. And obviously you want to use that trench theory, snaking trenches and cutting off sight lines to protect your spawn point. Now it's important when you place your spawn point to surround it with cover. You typically want to put a metal roof, maybe some trench walls, and you want to create a sort of funnel or protected entryway into the spawn area. And you also want to try to beef that up with some camo netting and ammo stations and med stations so anyone can fall back and kind of heal up or regather grenades and whatnot. It's very important to build up good spawn areas that the enemy can't attack so easily and destroy, because the spawn points can be destroyed when enemies get in proximity of it. Now, the good thing in being an engineer is if it starts getting destroyed, you can always use your hammer to keep that thing up and get more teammates spawning into the area to defend it and push back the attack. Okay, guys, so now we're going to be talking about a little more advanced niche tip, and that's slowing the enemy. This is another key job of a good engineer, and it's simply just slowing down the enemy movement. You can do this using barbed wire and wooden spikes, as well as just placing a lot of trenches and obstacles that make it hard for enemies to move through the battlefield and towards your position. There's several obstacle types, but in my opinion, the most effective is actually the weak barbed wire. The reason it's so useful is because it can be placed instantly without needing to hammer it, so it's really effective. You can place one and then you press N to quickly place another, and it allows you to create a large obstacle field very quickly. It's very spammable. Now, the strong barbed wire as well as the small wooden spikes and the large wooden spikes are more durable. However, they do require some hammering to finish building, but if you're building a more defensive area, it's definitely worth taking the time to place them. Um, Especially considering, sometimes you'll come back to the same map. If you're in a server from the beginning, you can end up playing the same map 3-4 times, and each time you play it, there's more trenches, there's more barriers, there's more obstacles placed because it saves the memory from your last match that server played during that campaign. I think a campaign's like 17 games long. So all the memory will still be there. So if you build really well deep fortifications that are hard to get through, it can be very worth it when you return to that map. Um, so yeah, it's just create a large obstacle field and spam the heck out of the weak barbed wire because it's going to allow you to place a ton of them and it's hard to get through. I really recommend just spamming N and left click and you'll place like 100 of them super quick. So it's a very good strategy to slow them down. Now, as well as placing down barbed wire and other obstacles, um, as I touched on earlier, it's also important to support your team with the ammo stations and the med stations. Now, you should be placing these constantly near the front lines. It doesn't require any hammering. You simply open the build menu, you click on the ammo station or the med station, and you left click. So whenever you build a spawn point, it's typically a good idea to place both an ammo station and a med station nearby the spawn point. It's going to keep your team supplied, especially your stormtroopers with their valuable grenades and the machine gunners with machine gun ammo, who will be relying heavily on ammunition to be storming trenches. Now, as an engineer, you can also carry dynamite. This can be used to destroy fortifications and even take out tanks. Like a really well placed dynamite will take out a tank in one shot. You get 2 sticks of dynamite per life. However, you can replenish them at ammo stations. So it's kind of like a bonus, like you can be next to a tank and out of dynamite, and you just place an ammo station, replenish it, and take it out. So just remember that as an engineer. Um, and then obviously the med stations are important. Most classes don't have bandages. I think it might only be the riflemen who have them. So players who they get shot, they get damaged, they're gonna need to heal. Any player who gets wounded and gets revived is gonna come back with only 25 HP, so they'll need to heal immediately if they want to be effective in the fight. So just keep in mind, especially if you're on the front lines, keep placing them near teammates as you're getting closer to the enemy. It's gonna really help your team a lot. So now on to the final bit of being an engineer, and that's supporting your machine gunners, which means you'll be needing to make machine gun nests. So it's very important that you build them, especially near forward spawn points, um, or near the front. It's going to allow good defense of the front line and of the spawn points. When placing the machine gun nests, you want to make sure that you protect them as much as possible. There's many different ways, as we've gone through the theory of trenching and base building and spawn point protection. It's pretty much the same thing. You want to put metal roofs above the machine gun nests. You want to place walls and sandbags, concrete walls. You can even use dirt mounds built up around the edges. It's going to limit the enemy angles and help ensure that the machine gunner is mostly only going to be attacked from the front. You can also try to mix in different terrain heights. You can build a funnel in low ground that allows your machine gunner to kill people being funneled into a tight corridor. You can build an elevated platform like in this clip. So you just want to mix it up a little bit and try to place it in strategic defensive points and near spawn points. And without further ado, that's the basics of how to play engineer in over the top World War One. If you use these strategies, you'll be able to build stronger trenches, protect your team's spawns, and completely control the flow of the battlefield and help your team win the battle. If you found this guide helpful, please drop a like and consider subscribing. Also check me out on Twitch, where I'll be streaming this game and also doing a giveaway. My Twitch is ttv at Sean_E_boy. And let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more advanced trench building strategies and tips on how to play this game. Until then, I'll see you on the battlefield, my fellow diggers.